Although having a lightsaber by itself does not make someone a Jedi, the lightsaber is a crucial part of a Padawan's journey towards becoming a master and has a long history as the reliable weapon of all kinds of peacekeepers across the galaxy. The Jedi, the Sith, and other force-wielding groups use lightsabers of a range of different colors. But what do these colors actually mean? Is there any significance, or are they just there to look good and avoid looking bland? Well, I'm going to break down every single known lightsaber color in canon and exactly what they tell you about the user. So smash the like button and purify the red subscribe button by showing some love to be notified of any new content. A lightsaber blade's color emanates from the kyber crystal inside of its hilt. This is the heart of a lightsaber, and its color is determined the moment the user harvests it from its resting place. So in essence, a lightsaber color reveals something about its wielder and their personality through their connection to the Force, meaning it's a manifestation of themselves deep down. And that leads us to number 1, blue lightsabers. Blue lightsabers are the most common type seen among the members of the Jedi Order during the time of the Clone Wars. Blue lightsabers are used by Jedi Guardians who prefer to focus on lightsaber combat and honing their aggressive negotiation skills. Jedi Guardians are a mirror to the Sith Warriors from many millennia ago, and they were seen as the Order's representatives to the rest of the galaxy, using combat to protect those in need from the evils that would otherwise do them harm. Guardians spent most of their time honing their martial arts skills and being sent on peacekeeping missions in violent locations. Some prominent examples of Jedi Guardians are Anakin Skywalker, Count Dooku when he was still a Jedi, and even Ki-Adi Mundi. Number 2, green lightsabers. Green lightsabers were usually wielded by Jedi consulars, and if a Jedi who was about to harvest his kyber crystal was more in tune with the cosmic force than his fighting ability, he would often have his crystal turn green. Consulars preferred to use non-violent methods of solving problems rather than pulling their lightsaber out from the get-go. On top of this, consulars spent most of their time refining their meditation and hoping to get answers to problems through the Force. Now, although consulars would attempt to avoid conflict for as long as possible, maybe even too long in some cases, they were far from stupid. They always carried their green blades around just in case they were needed. Additionally, Jedi consulars were some of the best at using Force abilities in combat, making them incredible combatants despite being so against violence. Their avoidance of it meant that when the time came, they were more than ready. Some notable examples of Jedi consulars are Qui-Gon Jinn, Master Yoda, and even Yoda's doctor. Number 3, yellow lightsabers. Yellow lightsabers were used by Jedi Sentinels, which are basically a mix of the previous two. Sentinels were some of the most powerful Force users within the Jedi Order, and when Jedi were chosen to become Temple Guards, they would be forced to take on the mindset of a Sentinel, a balance between fighting and calling upon the Force. Now, Sentinels were actually viewed as the most dangerous form of Jedi by Palpatine because they were very active in public life and were commonly seen helping poor and unfortunate citizens of big cities. As a result, Palpatine believed that a Jedi from this branch would likely be the one to overthrow him if ever. He was dead wrong. Although with the rise of Skywalker, maybe he was partially right. Some big examples of yellow lightsaber users are the Grand Inquisitor before he fell to the dark side, all of the Jedi Temple Guards, Asajj Ventress after she broke off from Dooku, Rey Skywalker, Rey Palpatine, and Yord Fandar. Number 4, purple and amethyst lightsabers. Purple and amethyst lightsabers were exceedingly rare by the time of the Clone Wars because of the very unique personality and Force attunement required to harvest them. Purple kyber crystals could be harvested by those who were firmly in the light side of the Force, but were not afraid to use the dark side of the Force when the situation called for it, if it was ultimately for the good in the end. The obvious case of this was Mace Windu, who was definitely a light side Force user but developed a lightsaber form known as Vapad, which channeled the dark side. The less obvious example is a Jedi Knight named Hugh Lick. Hugh Lick was a Rodian Jedi Knight who served during the time of the Clone Wars and was one of the rare users of an amethyst blade. Just like Mace Windu, Hugh Lick was not afraid to use the dark side of the Force to help others, but never took it too far. Either way, during Order 66, Hugh Lick was brutally fired upon by his squad of clone troopers, but he did manage to get away and set a course for his homeworld of Erodia. Unfortunately, he didn't survive the journey and his family entombed him at his home along with his amethyst lightsaber. Many years later, Luke Skywalker discovered the lightsaber and compared it to Mace Windu's, but accidentally destroyed it when trying to deconstruct it. Number 5, red lightsabers. Red lightsabers are probably one of the most interesting colors available for a Force user. Instead of being a natural color that can be imbued into a kyber crystal when it's harvested, it can only be produced through a very unnatural method. The user would have to make the kyber crystal bleed out through the Force, channeling their extreme anger and rage into it, eventually turning it red. This was done by pretty much all Sith, including Darth Vader, most notably in his comic series. All kyber crystal colors can be turned to red through making it bleed with the dark side of the Force. Notable users of red blades are of course Palpatine, Vader, and interestingly enough, Taron Malicos, who bled his kyber crystal after Order 66. He, however, used Night Sister magics to do it, which is a variant of the dark side. Interestingly, in The Acolyte, which has been cancelled, Osha bled Soul's crystal without intentional effort because she was touching the exposed kyber crystal, which poured her hatred into the singular focus point of the crystal. So kyber crystals must be exposed in order for them to be corrupted, and that leads us straight onto the next important color, number 6, white lightsabers. White lightsabers are just as fascinating as red ones. In fact, the two are connected. To turn a kyber crystal white, a Force user must purify it via the light side of the Force to stop it from bleeding. We know for sure that a Force user can purify a red kyber crystal to white, but we're not totally sure yet in canon if the other colors can also be purified to white. The obvious notable user of this color is Ahsoka Tano, who obtained her white lightsabers after killing the Inquisitor known as the Sixth Brother with her bare hands. She did this on the streets of Varada, a small farming moon, after the Sixth Brother discovered that she was plotting a rebellion after Order 66. Regardless, she exploded his own lightsabers on him, leaving only the bleeding red crystals remaining. She then purified these two crystals, turning them white, and then used the spare parts to construct her two sabers. Number 7. Cloudy Blue or Sky Blue. Surprisingly, this variation is actually different to regular blue lightsabers. A cloudy blue lightsaber was seen in the form of a saber cane used by Jedi Elder Terra Sunube. The cloudy blue color was only possible if the user harvested his crystal with a completely clear mind and remained focused on the living Force entirely. This matches up very well with Master Terra Sunube, who was wise beyond most, and the color differences really make it closer to a white saber than regular blue. So again, this makes a ton of sense. Number 8. Yellow-green. Yellow-green is an extremely rare lightsaber color that was used by Padawan Ahsoka Tano during the early stages of the Clone Wars. When Ahsoka harvested the kyber crystal for her Shoto saber, the smaller one, she was shocked to find that it was not pure green like her first. It was instead yellow-green, a mixture of both, which told her that she was moving closer towards a balance between being a guardian and a consular. Since her original was green, this means that she was moving away from the cosmic Force and closer to the living Force and lightsaber combat. This is probably because her master was Anakin Skywalker of all people. Very understandable. Number 9. Black. The most obvious and only current black saber that we've seen is the ancient Mandalorian Darksaber. The Darksaber was created by the first ever Mandalorian to become a Jedi, Tar Vizsla, and after his death it was stored in the Jedi Temple vault for safekeeping. Unfortunately for the Jedi, the Mandalorians soon stole the Darksaber back, considering it a Mandalorian relic. At this point it became a symbol of power and leadership, and the Mandalorian who held it was considered the leader of the Mandalorian people. Known holders of this weapon are Tar Vizsla, the creator, Pre Vizsla, his distant ancestor, Maul after he took control of Mandalore, Sabine Wren, Bo-Katan Kryze, Moff Gideon, and Din Djarin before it was sadly destroyed. Now, there is a question over whether the Darksaber is a lightsaber or if it's a completely separate class of weapon, being a white Darksaber. Based on some of the artwork for the High Republic, it does appear that the Darksaber is not a lightsaber but a white Darksaber, and that there could be blue, red, or even green Darksabers if a Mandalorian chooses to make them. But right now that is unclear in canon. Finally, there are actual lightsabers that emit black blades, used by the mysterious Sith Wraiths. However, these are only seen in a canon novel during a vision sequence, so the actual status in the real world is unknown so far. Number 10. Orange. The orange lightsaber is a bit of a mysterious one. In canon, there is only one known Jedi who uses this color, Cal Kestis. However, the former Jedi Baylan Skoll and his apprentice Shin Hati also use these colors. If I had to guess, I would say that it's one of the following two options. Number 1, it could be a Force user who was so in tune with service to the public and was very selfless, like the yellow-wielding Sentinels, that their saber went even further than just yellow. This makes a lot of sense because Cal took one of the most selfless options possible by saving Prouf when he knew it would expose his Force abilities to the Inquisitors in Jedi Fallen Order. Number 2, it could be the result of a failure to bleed a kyber crystal red. This one is less likely, but maybe at some point in Cal's journey, which we haven't seen yet, Cal is so taken by anger that he attempts to bleed the crystal red, ultimately failing. This is still possible in the final game of the series, but I'm not leaning towards it, and we do know however that one doesn't need to be completely dark to make one of these, as Drya Thorn's lightsaber is orange and was taken off of a dead Jedi who already had it that color. And finally, there is also a kyber crystal called Fool's Kyber, which does emit an orange blade, but these aren't real kyber, so they don't technically count. Number 11, Indigo. Indigo is another one of the lightsaber color choices from Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, but it's not Cal Kestis' canonical color. In canon, there is only one known wielder of an indigo blade, but we don't know how or why they got it to this color. Number 12, Magenta. Just like Indigo, this one is from Fallen Order, and there are no currently known users of this color in canon, but it certainly does exist in the canon universe. Number 13, Cyan. Again, Cyan is another lightsaber color from Fallen Order, and it's pretty close to blue, but not quite. There are no known wielders of this color in canon, and nothing more is known about it. So that is all of the currently known lightsaber colors in Star Wars canon. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.